Have you ever found yourself in a relationship that feels more like a one-sided struggle than a mutual connection? You might have asked yourself, why do I feel so deeply attached to someone who clearly doesn't care for me in the way I deserve? It's a painful paradox, especially when you know, on some level, that the relationship is unhealthy. Yet, there's something inside you that keeps reaching out, that craves more, despite the evidence that suggests otherwise. If this sounds familiar, you're not alone, and Carl Jung's insights into the unconscious mind might offer a profound explanation. According to Jung, these deep-seated attachments aren't just about the other person. They are reflections of the unconscious parts of ourselves that we have either neglected or repressed. We often project our inner world onto others, especially when it comes to romantic relationships. When we fall in love, we tend to see the person we are involved with not as they truly are, but as an idealized version that aligns with our hopes, fantasies, and unmet emotional needs. This projection creates an illusion of love, a dreamlike narrative that satisfies a part of us, even if it doesn't reflect the reality of the relationship. The core issue lies in our unconscious need to fulfill the desires and ideals we have, not addressed within ourselves. In other words, we seek from others what we are unwilling or unable to give ourselves. We long for the love, attention, or validation that we feel we lack. But instead of looking inward to nurture these needs, we seek them in the person we are attached to. This dynamic keeps us stuck in a cycle of longing, disappointment, and self-deception. A story I recall vividly is that of a close friend who was constantly involved with someone who treated them poorly. Despite numerous red flags, my friend would always justify their partner's actions, believing that love, if strong enough, could change the situation. They were attached, not to the person, but to an image of them, an ideal they had created in their mind, one that never truly existed. Over time, my friend realized that the true attachment was not to their partner's behavior, but to the fantasy of what they hoped their partner could be. By facing this painful truth, they began to let go of the illusion and started to heal. Jung's theory reveals an uncomfortable truth. What we seek in others is often a reflection of what we have neglected or rejected within ourselves. If we are looking for love, validation, or attention from a partner, it may be because we haven't learned how to provide those things for ourselves. This self-awareness is key to breaking free from toxic relationships and finding the healing we need. When we turn inward and begin to heal the unconscious wounds we've ignored, we can stop projecting our needs onto others and begin to form healthier, more authentic connections. So next time you find yourself questioning why you're holding onto someone who doesn't seem to care, take a moment to reflect. It's not just about them. It's about the parts of yourself that you've yet to confront, nurture, and heal. True healing begins from within, and when we learn to love and accept ourselves, the need for external validation fades away. Jung's exploration of the persona, the mask we wear in society, offers another profound insight into our relationships and how we navigate the world. The persona is a necessary construct for survival. It's the face we present to the world, shaped by societal expectations, norms, and the desire to be accepted. It allows us to fit in and function within the structures of society. But Jung was clear, it's not who we truly are. The persona is a mask we wear, and it hides our true selves. In relationships, this idea of the persona plays a critical role. Often, we alter or suppress aspects of our true selves to maintain the connection, thinking that by doing so, we will be accepted, loved, or appreciated. We might dim our true desires, suppress our emotions, and ignore our needs, all in an effort to please others. This is especially evident in romantic relationships, where we often try to be the person our partner wants us to be, rather than embracing our authentic selves. We believe that by fulfilling their expectations, we will secure the relationship, but in doing so, we often lose touch with who we truly are. Story. Example. Take the example of a person who is always agreeable, always nodding along with others, even when they don't fully agree with what's being said. At first, this might seem like a harmless strategy, a way to keep the peace and avoid conflict. After all, in many cases, agreeing with others can smooth over disagreements and make social interactions more comfortable. However, over time, this person begins to lose touch with their own opinions, their own voice. They suppress their true feelings to such an extent that they start to feel disconnected from themselves. The anxiety of constantly pretending takes its toll, and eventually they feel like a shell of who they once were. The mask has become their reality, and their true self is lost behind it. This scenario is not unusual. Many of us fall into the trap of wearing a persona in relationships, thinking that by doing so, we will gain acceptance or keep the peace. We often think that by suppressing our needs, our desires, or our true emotions, we will avoid conflict and ensure the survival of the relationship. But what happens when we continue to suppress our authentic selves for the sake of maintaining harmony? Over time, we begin to feel empty, as if we're playing a role rather than living our lives. The truth is that external validation can never truly fulfill us. It may feel good temporarily when someone praises us, agrees with us, or loves the version of ourselves we present to the world. But this external validation is fleeting. It's always conditional. No matter how much we strive for approval from others, it will never be enough to satisfy the deep-seated need to be seen for who we truly are. The more we seek this kind of validation, the more we lose sight of ourselves. We begin to feel as though we're constantly chasing after something that is just out of reach. And the more we chase, the more we feel disconnected from our true identity. Jung's work invites us to look beyond the persona, to strip away the mask we wear to gain acceptance, and reconnect with our authentic selves. Our true selves, the parts of us that are often hidden beneath layers of societal expectations, family dynamics, and personal insecurities, are waiting to be seen and heard. But in order to truly listen to ourselves, we have to stop seeking approval from the outside world and begin to cultivate self-acceptance. Reflection. Constantly seeking external validation is like trying to fill an endless void. No matter how much recognition or praise we receive, it will never be enough because it doesn't touch the deepest part of us. The part of us that longs to be understood and loved for who we really are. The persona we wear might protect us in the short term, but over time it only serves to distance us from the truth of who we are. The more we embrace our authentic selves, the more we can step into relationships that are based on genuine connection, not the need to please or conform. At the core of it all, we must remember that our true self is waiting to be heard. Not the self we present to the world, not the self we try to be for others, but the person we are deep down, beneath the mask. Only by embracing this truth can we truly experience freedom, self-love, and fulfillment in our relationships and in our lives. Understanding anxiety and what it really means. The anxiety you feel in a toxic relationship isn't just a symptom of being neglected or rejected. It's a sign that something deeper is at play. This anxiety is your psyche's way of telling you that there is a conflict inside. One part of you seeks authenticity, while another part tries to conform to a false ideal. Carl Jung's teachings emphasize that anxiety is not our enemy. Instead, it's a call to self-awareness. It's a signal from our soul, urging us to reconnect with our true selves. Story. Example. One personal story that comes to mind is about a woman who felt anxiety every time she didn't receive attention from her partner. Whenever he didn't, pay attention to her, or failed to spend time with her, she felt as though her world was falling apart. She couldn't stop thinking about what could happen if the situation continued. But what she didn't realize was that her anxiety wasn't about him, it was about her fear of losing herself. She had lived for so long in a relationship where she wasn't truly valued that when she didn't receive attention, she felt as though she no longer existed. She feared that she would become swallowed up in someone else's image rather than being herself. At first, she couldn't understand why she felt this way. She thought her anxiety was a normal reaction to not having her love reciprocated. But when she began to ask herself what lay behind this anxiety, she realized that it stemmed from an inner conflict. She wanted to be loved, but at the same time she couldn't continue living as a person who only existed for someone else. Once she started acknowledging and facing this inner conflict, her anxiety began to fade. She recognized that anxiety wasn't something to fear. Rather, it was a reminder to reconnect with herself. Jung taught us that anxiety is not our enemy. It's a signal that there's something we need to pay attention to, a call for self-awareness. Anxiety is not an unexplainable disorder. It's a powerful opportunity to reflect, to examine the parts of ourselves that we may have ignored or repressed. When we feel anxious, it's not a meaningless feeling. Instead, it's a chance to turn inward and explore what we've neglected or hidden from ourselves. Anxiety is the voice of our soul, reminding us to reconnect with our true essence. When this woman realized that her anxiety wasn't about her partner, but about losing herself, she began to feel lighter. She started to learn how to love herself, rebuild her confidence, and view the relationship from a different perspective. She no longer viewed love through the lens of needing attention and approval, but began to seek fulfillment and happiness from within herself. Reflection. Anxiety in a relationship is not necessarily a sign of a bad relationship, but it can be a powerful signal from within that it's time to reflect on who we are. When we understand anxiety correctly, it becomes a tool for greater self-awareness. Rather than seeing anxiety as an enemy, we can view it as a call to re-examine ourselves, to reconnect with who we truly are. It's a reminder from our soul that it's time to look inward, find peace within ourselves, and stop relying on external validation. When we start to acknowledge these inner conflicts and learn how to face anxiety instead of avoiding it, we realize that true peace doesn't come from outside, but from within our own soul. Carl Jung introduced the concept of the shadow, which refers to the hidden, repressed parts of ourselves that we refuse to accept. These are the aspects of our personality that we may deem as unworthy, shameful, or undesirable, and therefore, we choose to ignore or deny them. However, what we resist in ourselves often gets projected onto others, and this projection can influence the dynamics of our relationships in harmful ways. The shadow is not only something we fail to recognize within ourselves, but it can also attract people who mirror or reflect these hidden aspects of our personality. Jung argued that the shadow, when left unchecked, has the potential to lead us into toxic cycles that we continue to repeat until we confront and integrate it. Story. Example. Consider someone who grew up feeling rejected or unloved, perhaps by parents or other close relationships. As an adult, they might unknowingly choose partners who treat them similarly, partners who are emotionally unavailable or distant. They might find themselves constantly in relationships where they feel neglected, because deep down, they believe they don't deserve love or attention. This belief is not necessarily conscious, but rather it resides in the shadow, the part of them that feels unworthy or rejected. This belief, rooted in their shadow, guides their decisions and leads them to choose partners who mirror that same rejection they experienced in their past. They may not consciously choose rejection, but their shadow compels them to select relationships that reinforce the very thing they fear most, being unloved. As the pattern continues, the individual may start to feel frustrated, lost, or confused about why they keep attracting the same kind of partner. They may wonder why they can't seem to find someone who truly values them, but the answer lies in the shadow. Until they face this repressed part of themselves and accept their deep-seated belief of being unworthy, the cycle will continue. It's only by acknowledging their shadow, accepting its existence, and healing the wounds that have shaped these patterns that they can break free from the toxic relationships that continuously draw them in. Reflection. Have you ever found yourself repeatedly attracting emotionally unavailable or distant partners? Do you keep wondering why you end up in the same painful situations, even though you've tried so hard to change? The key to breaking this cycle lies in understanding the shadow and working to integrate it. The shadow is not something to fear or avoid, but rather something to understand and accept. When we keep hiding parts of ourselves, whether it's feelings of unworthiness, shame, or fear, we unknowingly project these feelings onto others, often attracting people who mirror them back to us. But when we take the time to look at what we've been hiding and accept those aspects, we regain control of our lives and relationships. The more you embrace the parts of yourself that you've repressed, the less power your shadow has over you. By acknowledging and integrating your shadow, you can begin to free yourself from the toxic patterns that have been repeating in your relationships. This doesn't mean you suddenly become perfect or that all your issues will vanish. Rather, it's about becoming whole, recognizing both your light and your darkness, and learning to live with both. Once you accept the shadow, you no longer attract relationships that feed it, and instead, you begin to form healthier, more balanced connections based on mutual respect, self-worth, and love. In Jung's view, integrating the shadow isn't just about facing our past or our flaws. It's about accepting our entire being, the parts we love and the parts we've been taught to hide. Only by embracing all aspects of ourselves can we truly break free from the toxic cycles and start building relationships that reflect our true worth. The path to healing. Individuation is a term Carl Jung coined to describe the process of becoming your true self. It is the journey of integrating both the conscious and unconscious aspects of your being, bringing together all the parts that make you whole. Individuation is about breaking free from the limitations of the persona, the masks you wear to please others, and the projections and shadows that control your life. It's a journey toward freedom to be fully yourself, without the need for validation or external approval. This process is not easy, and it can be deeply uncomfortable at times, as it requires confronting parts of yourself that you may have long ignored or repressed. But individuation is the most powerful transformation you can experience. It is the realization that you no longer need others to define your worth or to complete you. True healing happens when you stop seeking outside approval and begin to look within, to embrace who you truly are, flaws and all. Story example. Take the example of someone who has always lived their life seeking approval from others. Perhaps they were raised to believe that their worth was tied to how others saw them, how they looked, what they achieved, or how well they met societal expectations. They might have spent years trying to be the perfect partner, friend, or employee, constantly trying to meet the needs of others while neglecting their own. But one day, they decide that enough is enough. They are tired of living their life based on the approval of others. They begin to stop seeking validation, and instead, they start living authentically. At first, it's uncomfortable. They feel exposed, vulnerable, and unsure of themselves. They wonder if they are making the right choice, or if they'll lose everything that once seemed so important. But as time passes, something shifts within them. They begin to feel a sense of peace that they've never known before. They stop running after love and approval from others and instead begin to focus on self-love. This, in essence, is individuation in action. It's the gradual shedding of old patterns and beliefs that once defined their sense of worth, and the slow but steady growth of their authentic self. Reflection. Individuation is not an easy process. It is challenging, confronting, and often disorienting. You may feel as though you're walking into the unknown, unsure of what the future holds. But the payoff is profound. As you embark on this journey, you'll discover that you no longer need others to validate your worth. You stop chasing after fleeting praise or approval, and instead, you begin to embrace yourself as you are. You realize that your true value comes from within, and once you accept yourself fully, your strengths, your weaknesses, your light and your shadow, you will find a sense of freedom that no external approval could ever give you. Individuation is not about perfection. It's about wholeness. It's about integrating all the parts of yourself, the parts you love and the parts you've tried to hide. It's the realization that you are enough just as you are. And as you step into your true self, you'll find that you no longer need to wear masks or seek validation from others. You will be free to live authentically, to love yourself, and to experience peace in your heart. This is the path to healing, the journey of becoming who you were always meant to be, letting go and reclaiming your power. Letting go is one of the most difficult and painful processes we can face, especially when it involves someone who has played a significant role in our lives. It's not about forgetting the person or erasing the memories, but about acknowledging that they were part of your journey and understanding that they no longer need to hold any power over you. The most courageous act you can take in this process is choosing yourself, choosing to heal, choosing to reclaim your strength, and choosing to move forward without the weight of the past holding you back. When we hold on to someone who has hurt us, we allow them to maintain a place in our hearts and minds, even if they no longer deserve it. We may think that we cannot live without them, that our lives would be incomplete without their presence. But the truth is, by holding on, we only continue to give away our power, our sense of self, and our peace of mind. Letting go is the process of taking back that power, of choosing to stop allowing someone else's actions and presence to dictate how we feel about ourselves. Story. Example. A close friend of mine had been in a long, toxic relationship. For years, they had believed that they couldn't live without their partner. Despite the constant emotional turmoil, manipulation, and hurt, they stayed in the relationship, thinking that this was the only love they would ever know. Their partner was often dismissive, unreliable, and even cruel at times. But my friend felt like they were trapped in a cycle of dependence. They believed they needed their partner to feel whole, to feel loved, to feel accepted. However, when they finally reached a breaking point, something changed. They realized that they had been losing themselves in the relationship, and that the only way to reclaim their peace and happiness was to let go. At first, it was terrifying. The thought of being alone, of living without their partner, felt impossible. But as they took the difficult step of walking away, something remarkable happened. The space that was left by the relationship was filled with their own strength and purpose. They began rediscovering parts of themselves that they had lost along the way, strength they didn't even know they had, dreams and passions they had neglected, and most importantly, a deep love for themselves that had been buried under the weight of the toxic relationship. As time passed, my friend found that they no longer missed the relationship. They no longer missed the chaos, the pain, and the emotional depletion that came with it. Instead, they felt empowered, grounded, and more at peace than they had ever been. The act of letting go allowed them to reclaim their life and their sense of self. Reflection. Letting go is not an easy choice, but it is a choice that will set you free. When you choose to let go of something or someone that no longer serves you, you are making space for healing, growth, and self-love. It's not about forgetting or pretending the pain didn't happen. It's about understanding that holding on to the past only keeps you chained to it. The more you hold on, the more you allow that relationship or situation to have power over you. Letting go is an act of reclaiming the pieces of yourself that were lost or sacrificed in the process. It's about returning to your true self, the person you were always meant to be, and allowing yourself to live fully and authentically. It is ultimately the most powerful act of self-love and self-respect you can offer yourself. By choosing yourself, you not only release the hold that the past has over you, but you also embrace the freedom to create a new, healthier future filled with your own strength, purpose, and self-worth. Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you really are." This profound statement encapsulates the essence of personal transformation. The journey toward healing and growth is not about changing others or waiting for them to change. It is about reclaiming your truth, embracing who you truly are, and stepping into your authentic self. The more you begin to accept yourself, the less you will depend on external validation. No longer will you need others to define your worth, because you will know who you are and what you bring to the world. This is the ultimate form of empowerment. We often spend so much time seeking approval, trying to fit into the molds that society, our families, or even our relationships set for us. We adjust, adapt, and compromise, often at the expense of our true selves. But as Carl Jung wisely pointed out, the real privilege comes when we choose to stop playing these roles and instead allow ourselves to be who we truly are. It's a privilege because it's a rare and precious gift to embrace our authentic selves in a world that often encourages conformity. When you stop seeking validation from others and begin to live from a place of self-acceptance, you find that the pain you once felt starts to transform into power. You no longer feel the need to chase after things that don't serve your growth. Instead, you begin to attract the right people, opportunities, and experiences that align with who you are meant to be. Final thought. As you reflect on this journey, ask yourself, what is it that you need to let go of in order to set yourself free? Is it a toxic relationship, a past hurt, a limiting belief? Whatever it is, write it down and let this act of recognition be your step toward liberation. Letting go isn't just about releasing someone or something from your life. It's about giving yourself permission to move forward and create space for healing and growth. Write it down, and in doing so, take back your power. This is your act of liberation, a powerful step toward becoming the person you were always meant to be. Call to action. If this message resonated with you, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Here, we explore deep truths that can transform your life. Remember, your healing begins the moment you decide to stop looking for external salvation and start living from within. You have the power to create the life you deserve, and it starts with the decision to honor yourself and your truth. Take that first step today and begin the journey of self-empowerment.